Today's entertainment rankings and reviews. Mini reviews. Greetings, my fellow YouTubers. I'm Duel, the Big D2, and this is Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. I'm back again with another mini reviews vid. Today I'm going to be tackling 3 recent horror flicks that came out last year in 2024. Watched them in the last few weeks. Well, one today, one yesterday, and one just a while ago, last month. And I'm going to review them all to you in one vid. Now, like with all my mini reviews, these are going to be quick ones, and they will be spoiler free, just in case if you've never seen them. Now, that's out of the way. Let's get this started. Here's the first mini review. First up is Cuckoo, released last August by Neon. The film was directed by Tillman Singer, starring Hunter Schafer along with Jan Bluthart, Maureen Sakis, Jessica Hamwick, and Dan Stevens. This was a co-production between Germany and the US. It's about a teenager who moves to the German Alps to live with her father, but becomes disturbed by strange occurrences as her father's boss embroils her family in a sinister plot. Now, that's all of this story I will give to you. I'm not going to give you much of the story. So, from what I saw in this film, I gotta say, I did like the setting and what have you. It was really something, really cool. And I have to say, it was pretty eerie in some parts. Anyway, apparently, Lee, this was really a real shocking one. But apparently, the this girl named Gretchen, who's our main protagonist, encounters this mysterious character called the Cuckoo that really causes some serious shriek noises and what have you. Yeah. Anyway, this film was a modest, did okay, kind of just slightly underperformed, with 6.7 million on its $7 million budget. Anyway, but the film nevertheless got good reviews. It sits at 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying directed with inventive flair by Tillman Singer while giving flavorful personality by stars Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens. The film is a madcap, madhouse horror that's on the right side of deranged. I agree with that. Metacritic has a score of 62. Unfortunately, audiences polled by CinemaScore gave this a C plus, while those surveyed by PostTrack gave it a 68% positive score. Well, that's understandable. But I think I agree with them on the critics on the performances of Schafer and Stevens. Slash Film wrote Schafer's strong willed, straight shooting, absolutely sensational performance is the anchor in this chaotic storm. Schafer commands every scene. I couldn't agree more. That is really something. Now, let's see. Oh, yes. Robert Daniels of RogerEbert.com praised Stevens' performance, knowing every choice he makes as Mr. Koenig doubles as a lampoon and a threat, as equally hilarious and sadistic. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The characters are pretty good. Hunter Schafer, who actually was recently in The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as Tigris Snow, actually played the main role of Gretchen. I think her performance was absolutely incredible. Jan Bluthart played Henry. Maureen Sakis, who I remember from Triple X, played the character Louise. And Jessica Hamwick played Beth. Not too bad. Dan Stevens played Koenig. Koenig. That's a pretty good character. And also we have Mila Liu as Alma, who is a deaf girl and half sister to Gretchen. I thought that was a surprise. I didn't know there was actually a deaf girl in this. This wouldn't be the first time I've seen a deaf girl in a horror flick. Anyway, like I said, this film was kind of strange, but it was pretty shocking in some parts and what have you. The music was composed by Simon Wasco, which wasn't too bad. But anyway, I found Cuckoo to be pretty good and what have you. Maybe I would say it is definitely a pretty good horror flick. So I think I enjoyed it for its performances, its atmosphere, and some of its fights were pretty good too. So overall, Cuckoo's pretty good. It's I think if I'm right, I think it should be on physical media by now. I'm sure it is. If you can't find it anywhere, look it up on Hulu. They've got it for streaming. So for my score, I give Cuckoo 3.5 stars. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 7. Now to the next me review. The next main review is on the 2024 survival horror thriller Never Let Go, released by Lionsgate and directed by Alexandra Aja, written by Casey Coughlin and Ryan Graspy, starring Halle Berry. Well, this didn't quite become that big a success though, but anyway, it's about just a character known as Mama and her two young children, Nola and Samuel, who live in a cabin in a large forest. According to Mama, a supernatural force known as the Evil has spread across the world, leaving them the only survivors. Well, the family spends their days foraging and hunting for food. To prevent the evil from touching them, which Mama says ensures possession, the family must have ropes tied when they leave the house, connecting them back to the building. And the boys must also chant a daily prayer to the house and thanks for it keeping them safe from the evil. But however, the two brothers get into an argument until one of them gets disconnected from the rope. And really, and well, this when all hell breaks loose. Well, from what I saw in Never Let Go, I'm going to say it was okay and what have you. I wouldn't say it'd be great by any means, but it is pretty eerie and frightful and what have you. But it just didn't catch on with me and what have you. And I appreciate them trying to do their extreme best. Now, with this being directed by Alexandra Aja, who also directed the remake of The Hills Have Eyes as well as Crawl. But nonetheless, the film was still fine, what have you. But anyway, the film did okay, maybe not so well. It made 21 million worldwide on its $20 million budget, but still became another disappointment for Lionsgate, who had a major losing streak last year. However, Rotten Tomatoes was mixed on this, with 56% saying that director Aja's latest horror offering boasts anxiety-inducing atmosphere and a committed performance by Halle Berry, although audiences will have to let go of some storytelling expectations to enjoy the ride. Now, I agree with them on that part. Now, Halle Berry, though, did manage to do very well and what have you. But boy, it was still kind of baffling in some parts. Metacritic has it as score 55, and audiences polled by CinemaScore also gave this a C+. And those surveyed by PostTrack gave it a 67% positive score. So, anyway, yeah. Now, I will say Alexander Aja, he did a pretty good job on this in directing this film. It wasn't too bad. Now, of course, Lionsgate releases under Summit Entertainment, their sister company. But this wasn't really one of the great horror films, but at least it's better than some other horror films I saw that were, well, factually a little more terrible. Now, I did like Halle Berry's performance as Mom. Very good. Now, for the boys, Percy Daggs IV played Nolan, and Anthony B. Jenkins played Samuel. Not too bad. There was the character Papa, played by Will Catlett, and that character was pretty good. But of the whole, from what I've seen of Never Let Go, it just didn't have enough power to give it to me with stuff with power and what have you. It did have some pretty good tunes and a pretty good score from French pop rock musician, singer songwriter Rob, who of course Robin Coulthard, but also known by stage name Rob. So yeah, and Sean Levy actually co-produced this film since his company 21 Laps Entertainment was involved with the production of this. So that was fine too. Well, Never Let Go, it just wasn't quite strong enough to build up my like of it. I did like it for some of its thrills, but it just wasn't quite strong enough, though. I would recommend you might give this a one-time watch. The film's on physical media and is available to check out on the Stars app or on the Stars channel itself. For my score, I give Never Let Go 2.5 stars. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 5. And now for the last main review in this vid. The last film I give you a main review of is the 2024 psychological horror flick Heretic, released by A24 last November. Directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, who also wrote the story together. The film stars Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East as Mormon missionaries who visit the home of an eccentric man known as Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant, after he expresses interest in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. However, Mr. Reed's intentions become evidently more sinister when they enter his home. Yeah. Apparently, once there, they begin to discuss religion and stuff like that. One of the two playfully expresses a desire to visit others after death as a butterfly that appears on the hands of her loved ones. However, during this, Reed makes several uncomfortable comments about their fate. And once he steps out of the room, one realizes that the smell of blueberry pie is from a candle, the front door is locked, and they have no phone signal. And it really turns into one shocking experience. Now, from what I've seen of Heretic, I must say this film proved to be a more shocker than what I had anticipated. But I gotta say, this was pretty good and what have you. It did pretty well for A24. It made $59 million worldwide on its $10 million budget. Chris Bacon does the score for the film, which was pretty good. We actually get to hear some pretty good songs as well, including the Hollies' The Air That I Breathe, as well as a version of Knocking on Heaven's Door, which was actually sung by Sophie Thatcher herself, who plays Sister Barnes in the film. I must say, she's really good in this. And what have you. Who of course is currently one of the few scream queens out there, who she recently appeared in The Boogeyman a couple of years back, and just more recently in Companion earlier this year. Look for a spoiler-free review of that coming up later on this month. And of course, she's currently on the Showtime series Yellow Jackets. She does a pretty good job. Playing Sister Paxton is Chloe East, who appeared in a couple episodes of HBO's True Blood. She also recently appeared in The Fabelmans. I gotta say, they were pretty good. I was surprised to see Topher Grace was in this as Elder Kennedy. I'm sure you know who that is. But I think it was Hugh Grant who did a good job as Mr. Reed. His performance was pretty good. Anyway, it did pretty well. The film set at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, where they say Hugh Grant has infectious fun playing against hype in the film. A religious horror that preaches the gospel of cerebral chills over cheap shocks. Couldn't agree more. Metacritic has a score of 71, but unfortunately, audiences polled by CinemaScore, just like the other two, gave this a C plus, while those polled by PostTrack gave it a 70% overall positive score. Pierre Bradshaw for The Guardian described the film as gruesome and bizarre and preposterous, and highlighted the performance of Mr. Grant, calling him suave, dapper, and evil. I couldn't agree more. However, the Latter-day Saints Church released a statement condemning the film's portrayal of violence against women. But I really don't want to get into that. I really don't want to cause any controversy or anything like that, because I don't want to be rude and what have you. But even so, I found Heretic to be spine-tingling, eerie, and, well, I'm going to say, I know I would have seen this, but anyway, yeah. So, anyway, I think Heretic is another good horror flick. This is one good horror flick you gotta look into. Now, I think it's on Physical Media now, but the film just more recently came to Max and is also available to watch on HBO as well. So, anyway, the cast is pretty good, especially Hugh Grant, who does a very good performance. I can't recall seeing him in a horror film, but this is the first. He does one hell of a job. For my score, I give Heretic 4 stars. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an 8. So that's going to do it for this mini reviews vid. Excuse me. Sorry about that, everyone, but there's my mini reviews on these 3 films. Have you seen any of these horror films? Or have you seen one of them? Just let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, consider clicking the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel. Make it grow and make the views grow. Tell all your friends about my channel. Get them to know me. Maybe they'd like to be a part of my Big D Nation. Share my vids with your friends if you like as well. Join me next time when I bring to you a spoiler-free review of Mufasa the Lion King. So if you like this, check out my reviews for these other horror films from last year. In the upper left-hand corner is my spoiler-free review of Speak No Evil. The upper right-hand corner is my spoiler-free review of Long Legs. Or go to the bottom left-hand corner and see my recent mini reviews vid that includes the action flick, The Killer's Game, and another horror flick from A24, Y2K. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc. Then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.